Asperger Studios presents stories. This episode is sponsored by Sensuma. More about it in the link in the description down below. Hello and welcome back. Today in the show, I'm joined with Daniel Isham, who's on the spectrum and has created a game that's sort of like D&D meets Build Your Own World 3D style. We're going to learn more about him and his game and much, much more. So sit back, relax, and grab your favorite beverage, and I'll see you on the other side. See you there. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Asperger Studios Presents Stories. Today on the show, I'm joined with Daniel Isham, another
It's
fellow
Isham.
Daniel Isham. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Hello.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I am a stay-at-home dad who works at night as a janitor for two different companies. One is the City of Hurricane and one is Cracker Barrel. I have a wife and a daughter, and I do podcasting and 3D printing as a hobby to let myself out a little.
All right. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your podcast?
Well, my podcast is a story podcast that's built on a 3D printing game that me and my friend are creating. The concept is this: we each create our own country, set what era the country's in, and create a world from there. And then we create the story based on what happens in the game.
All right. So it's almost like a choose your own adventure type of D&D style, build your own set style kind of game.
Kind of mushed in with Settlers of Catan.
Oh, I have Katana. It's an interesting game. So how is it going so far?
Oh, it's going pretty good. I haven't launched yet. I launch August 27th because that's when my daughter goes to preschool, and that's when I can start doing the podcasting on a regular basis. But I've already gotten 19 episodes recorded already and prepared for when it launches.
So basically, as I understand it, each episode is going to be episodic serial wise, and it's basically just you telling the story about running your world.
Yes.
Okay, and you make up different scenarios, like there's something's going on politically, a coup. Now, you had mentioned that you're working with another guy. Are you going to be rival countries? Are you going to be...
Oh, yes. His is a kingdom and mine is an empire. His kingdom are the natives who were in hiding because in this world there was a civil war about 1,000 years before, and they're the survivors.
Oh.
And the ones who have been hiding from everybody. And mine are the remnant, are from a corporation that went bankrupt.
Very interesting. Two almost opposite types of people. So his people could almost form a coup and say, hey, we want to take over this country and make it ours.
Yep.
So you don't know what's going on.
At the beginning of the game, my people don't know that he exists.
Oh, now how do you decide moves? Is it a roll of the die? Are you using standard D&D die?
We are using a 6-sided die, and each figurine moves a certain amount of tiles per turn. And the only one that can explore are explorer figurines. And they can move one tile forward unless they use satellite technology.
Okay, so it's almost like playing D&D online where you control the characters of the roll of the die, and that's how they move.
Yep.
All right. So Are you playing in a, like an adventure style type wise where you don't know what's there as you explore? It opens up the cloud expands over time.
Yes. And then as it expands, we
You
have
find more
as
and more stuff.
but it's all based on roll of the dice. So you roll a die for what it is. It could be a forest, it could be a waterway, it could be a settlement.
Oh, that's even interesting. So whatever you discover is all dependent on what you roll. So
And then you
everything is so nothing is determined. So it's basically everything's a mystery, and depending on what you roll is what you get.
Yep. And then if you get a settlement, you roll the dice depending on what it is. It could be a village, a city, a metropolis, or castle.
Now, do how do you and your partner play together? Do you play over Zoom? Do you use Roll20's board setup?
Oh, I wish I knew how. I 3D print every one of the tiles and I
Mm-hmm.
give it to him. And we usually play over the phone through pictures. As soon as it gets more advanced, we're gonna physically get together. And I'm good. Once other people start joining, we're going to be using my Discord as a way of playing it with other people.
All right. Now, let's get down to let people know a little bit more about you. We've learned about your podcast and how it works. Let's people learn a little bit more about you.
Okay.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a place called South Jordan, Utah. It's a suburb of Salt Lake City.
All right.
And my mom was a teacher, and my dad was a scientist who eventually became a teacher.
Oh, wow.
He taught college, high school, and junior high, and he won 2 awards for being teacher of the year for the state of Utah twice.
Okay.
He spent most of his career as a biologist.
All right.
Yep.
What motivates you, inspires you, and drives you?
My family. Uh, I've I'm as I said, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I've organized my entire life around being able to take care of my daughter because we think it's important that one of us raises my daughter. She's 3 right now, and it took us 13 years to get her.
All right. What's the best compliment you've ever gotten?
Oh, that's a hard one, especially because my bosses really love what I do. Recently, I've gotten a whole bunch of really good compliments from the chief of the police at Hurricane on how good I do my job over there. He loves how much how much the police department has physically changed since I've started cleaning it. So I'd say at this time, I'd say that one is probably my best compliment.
All right. What's your biggest failure and what did you learn from that experience?
What is my biggest failure? Well, my biggest failure was having children with my wife, and what I learned from it is that you don't always get what you want, or you don't always get what you want in the way that you expect to get it. Because the only way we're able to have my daughter is through adoption, and we'd completely given up being able to have children. So that was my biggest failure, was having children with my wife.
All right. Tell me about 3 influential people in your life and how they impacted you.
I would say my father. Him and my mother really guided my life in very minute ways that I didn't see until I was an adult. I would say the political scientist Machiavelli. He uh, he gave me an entirely new perspective on the world after reading his book, The Prince. And who else? A man named Robert Bauman. He was one of my religious leaders and as he's professionally an insurance salesman, but he's really guided my life quite a bit.
All right.
I was a missionary for my church, and he was the leader of as the lead missionary there. So
Okay. What makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
my wife and daughter, I I feel that when I'm around them, this is where I need to be.
All right. Fill in the sentence. I'm at my best when.
I'm at my best when I've had a full night's sleep.
All right. If you can turn back time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell him about where you are now in life?
I would tell him that everything he's planning is going to go differently than he expects, and that most of it won't happen.
All right. If you can have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Think I would put a billboard for Peaky's Donuts because they're the best donuts in the that I know of.
Okay.
Either that or what's the name of that other place? They have good cheese fries. I can't remember the name of the other place, but there's also another place that sells really great cheese fries.
All right. What do you think the world will look like in 5 years?
Probably will probably have a lot less physical codex books, just because if you look at the way that book technology has evolved, whenever there's a new form of book technology that's more effective, usually the others slowly disappears. I mean, you could also see it in the way cassettes went.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I was 21, you could still get cassettes everywhere to listen to, and now you can hardly get DVDs or CDs.
All right. What was your favorite subject in school?
Science until I was in 8th grade, but after I learned about civics was my favorite. Was my favorite,
All
or
right.
political science.
Okay. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
Introvert.
All right. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be and why?
That's a really hard one. Uh, I would say I'm always trying to run for political office when I can. I would love to be a great political leader in our country, known for well, known for something that our one of our greatest presidents was completely forgot about. President Garfield, he was
Mm-hmm.
known as the corruption buster. I would love to be remembered like that.
All right. Tell me about where you are now in life.
Right now, I am a stay-at-home dad during the day and a full-time janitor at night. Uh, I currently, my big things are my podcast and my 3D printing. Otherwise, it's all about my daughter and my wife.
All right. Now we get into the more of the fun questions. Are
Sure.
you ready?
Yes.
What is your favorite word?
What is my favorite word? Hmm. That's a hard one. Uh, Centurion, because it's fun to say.
All right. What is your least favorite word?
Dirty diaper or diaper. Diaper's my word.
Okay. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, and or emotionally?
Creating my own worlds turns me on creatively. Being having full creative control.
All right. What turns you off?
Uh, Other people being in control of everything.
All right. What's your favorite curse word?
I don't swear.
Okay. What sound or noise do you love?
Hmm. I love hearing the noises my wife and daughter make when they're asleep.
All right. What sound or noise do you hate?
My daughter screaming.
Yes. All right. What's your favorite color?
Sky blue.
What's your least favorite color?
What is my least favorite color? Oh, it would probably be jade.
All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Political science and politician.
What profession would you not like to do?
But I wouldn't like to be a secretary.
All right. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome.
All right. When you arrive at heaven, who would you like to meet?
I would like to meet my ancestors.
Okay. What books or what podcasts, I should say, other than your own, would you recommend people listen to?
Lorehammer listener lore and our fake history.
All right. And finally, where can people find your podcast to listen to it, and how can they get involved in your world to join it?
Okay, I'm on Spotify, Apple, and because I'm using Spotify's as my host, most major most major podcatchers have got my podcast. It's at least the trailer at this point. And the best way to join my world is to look me up on Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
I I've I've done it through Patreon not because I'm going to need the money at all. It's so that only people who really want to join my game and work in the podcast would get access to it. So it links you to my Discord. Uh, we have polls. Uh, we have everything you could think of that could link you. You can submit stories. You can get access to the board game. Everything that you could want to be able to do it, you can get through the Patreon. I have open things like Facebook and Discord, but most of my stuff I put into the Patreon thing for people who really want to join me.
You're the first person that I know that's used Patreon to not put up a pay tier.
It did not do a what?
You didn't, from when I looked, there was no pay tier mentioned in it.
I have one, unless they didn't put it up.
I'll have to look again, but you heard it here, folks. That's how you can catch him. That is Daniel Isham.
I should.
Isham, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you there, everybody.